Hi, this is part 3 of class 12. We've already talked about cleansing members and getting them into the members table from our last class. We've also gone through the pre-lab for this class and gotten you up to speed that way. And now we're going to start with the rest of it, importing data. First thing I'd like you to do is take a look at your Premier database. Go ahead and open that up. And it should look like that. But while we're in the folder, I just wanted to show you that Premier has another file that shows when the file is open, and that is an LACCDB file, which indicates that it's locked. In other words, when you've got your file open, this file indicates that no one else can get into it and lock things while you're editing it. If you hover over it, you'll see it says record locking information. One thing that you should know is that if your file is not open, to your knowledge, and you see this file, for example, on your flash drive, that means that you probably yanked out your flash drive before you closed your file. It's always important to remember to close your file when you're done with it and make sure that that's done before you pull out your flash drive. One way to make sure of this is to eject your flash drive safely, because it won't let you eject it as long as there are open programs. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish importing data and getting it ready for getting the database ready. So I'm going to tell you where we are in the lab manual. We've already done members, so we're going to go directly to page 169. And we're going to open up the taxes and shipping fees table. Excuse me. Taxes and shipping fees is a table that does not have all the data in it. We only have 42 records. We want to get our data in from another file. So what we're going to do is click that gray square up in the upper left-hand corner to select all the records, and then hit the delete key. Enjoy that, because you rarely get to do that. You'll do it on the graded module, but rarely do you get to do it otherwise. Go ahead and click yes and close taxes and shipping fees. We're going to be importing this new data from another file, and let's go look at that file right now. It's called newstatedata.txt, and it's a tab delimited file. Go ahead and open it. The file should open in Notepad, and Notepad is just a simple ASCII text editor. And this file is tab delimited. Now you can't see the tabs, but trust me, it is. Even though it looks funny, Access will know what to do with it when we start the importing process. Back to Access. We're going to go to External Data, and we're going to choose Text File. Click it, and the Get External Data wizard will launch. And what we're going to do is append a copy of the records to the table. Taxes and shipping fees. And click Browse. And we're going to go find that file in our class files folder, Access. Then you'll notice that because of the wizard I chose, I only see that kind of file. So just for future reference, if you happen to see you don't happen to see the file you're actually looking for, you may want to go back and assure that you've gotten the right wizard, or you're doing the right import. If you are looking for an Excel file, for example, and you choose text data, you won't see an Excel file there. So we're choosing New State Data and Open and OK. Now, this wizard is a little bit different from the one we did for Access or even Excel. And you have a few more things to look for. First of all, you can decide whether it's fixed width or delimited. Ours is delimited. Click Next. You can choose other delimiters if they exist, but they don't in this one. But we do need to tell it that the first row contains field names. Click Next. And then we are importing it to that table. Check it and make sure. And then Finish. We do not need to save steps. Go ahead and open Taxes and Shipping Fees. You should see that you have 51 records, which is every state, including Washington, D.C. Go ahead and close. Okay. Excuse me, let me take a little sip of tea here. And let's continue. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually grab some data from a website. We've done a couple of databases for the IU Dance Marathon. Some of you may be involved in that. And one of the things that we had to do was we had to make sure that people could grab regular sets of data off the web and be able to import it into the Access database. So this is something that we're going to do here. We're starting here on page 171. And the first thing I'd like you to do is open up a brand new Excel file in 2013. Make sure you're clicked in cell A1 and then go to Data. And now we're going to go to Get External Data in Excel. And you notice we have Get External Data in both of these programs. I think this is the first time we've actually talked about external data in Excel. But you can get external data from many different sources. There are a lot of online databases. There are a lot of web pages where you can get data from. We're going to choose From Web, and we're going to launch basically what's an internal web browser. And I want you to go in and just stretch this out a little bit. There's a little sizing handle down here at the bottom. And we're going to type in the URL. It is https://www.indiana.edu /BUS-K204 /more_ratings.htm and hit enter or click go. What you'll see is a rendering of a web page here. And this little wizard here, this web query wizard, is going to detect importable data. It indicates importable data by showing you these little arrows where it thinks it's got data for you. Now, if you click elsewhere, what you'll see is this basically is an Excel spreadsheet. If you click elsewhere, like sheet 1, for example, you'll see other stuff. But what we really want is on sheet 2. And you'll notice that if you clicked off of those, all those little detectors went away. So what you'll have to do is hit F5 to refresh this page, and then you can see them again. Now you're going to want this one. Go ahead and click this little arrow. You'll want that one to turn green with a check mark and show this data. Now, I want you to watch as we do this and see what happens over here in cell A1. Click the Import button down at the very bottom, right-hand side of the window and choose A1 as your destination and click OK. Notice it said really quickly there, Sheet 002 getting data. That was the web query running. Now, a couple of things happened. We imported the data, and you are aware of named ranges in Excel now, so go ahead and look here. We've got Sheet 002. Look, that's the named range, and that's all of our data right there. Now, you may notice something else that's going on here. You see the ID numbers? If you were paying close attention, you may have noticed that in the web page we had some leading zeros, but now we don't. And that's because Excel will try to detect insignificant digits and get rid of them, and leading zeros is something that it will get rid of. So what we need to do is do some data cleansing. I'm flipping back to Excel, or to Access, to take a look at the products. The products all have, it looks like to me, regularly 6 digits, and that anything with fewer than 6 digits is going to be dirty data. So we simply have to add those zeros back in. 6 is the maximum size for our field, so I feel pretty safe in assuming that we can just add those back in. And I bet you're all jumping up and down and going, I bet I know how we can do that. Well, I'm sure you all have some ideas. I do too. You could do a bunch of different things. I'm going to go simple. I'm going to concatenate, and I'm going to go all the way. Sorry. Putting 6 whole zeros to the front of all of this just to be darn sure, to the contents of cell A2. Now that gives me 6 zeros. However, I don't want all of that, so I'm just going to take the right 6 characters so that I'll chop off any extra zeros that I don't need. And there's my new cleansed number. Okay, there it all is. Control C. Well, not that Control C. Sorry. Control C. I'm having a good day. No voice, no control of my keyboard. And then paste values. And we're done. Get rid of that data so we don't mess up anything. And we're going to save this as an XLSX file. And I'm going to call it more ratings.xlsx. It already exists because I've done this once today, so it will ask to replace it. Go ahead and close it, and now we can go back and take a look at our Access database. We're going to start this whole exercise by actually making a table called ratings, and we're going to do that by importing member ratings.xlsx to start with. So let's go to external data, click Excel, browse for member ratings.xlsx, open, and we're going to keep this importing the source data into a new table and click OK. Now you see a bunch of mess here. You don't see data that looks like we want. So one of the things you need to remember is a workbook can contain several worksheets, any of which could have data that you need on it. It can also show named ranges. We don't have any in this workbook, so it looks like we're going to have to look at a particular worksheet, and the worksheet is called Product Ratings. Note too that we've got field names in the first row. Click Next. And luckily, Excel figured out for us that we do have those column headings in the first row. However, you should be careful and always take note of that, because you may corrupt your data or have too many records by importing your column headings instead of telling them that those are column headings. Click Next. This screen allows us to kind of look at what the data types are if we need to make any changes. We don't, so click Next. One thing that I want to emphasize is don't let Access add primary keys whenever it wants to. You should be well aware of what could be good keys in your data. Sometimes we just don't have good candidate keys. That means things that are unique or things that we can use as key fields, and AutoNumber provides a data type that will allow you to do that. Most of the time, you should choose a natural key, and a natural key is something that is naturally occurring, such as you already have a student ID or you already have a username. You should use something like that. We have other plans, so choose no primary key and click Next. And let's call this Ratings, all caps, and Finish. We do not need to save steps. Okay. Before we even open the table, let's go ahead and get more ratings on there. Once again, go to Excel, under External Data, and then we want to append a copy to the new ratings table. Browse for the file that we just created, which was moreratings.xlsx. And then click OK. And take note, look, there's our leading zeros. We're in good shape. But notice that we also have a named range. So just to be safe, I want to only import the named ranges. See, if we had left that data in there, remember when we cleansed the data? If we had left that in there, then that would have been, they would have tried to import that extra piece. And so I was a good steward of my data and I deleted it. But had I not, and if you didn't, it would have tried to import it as a new column and you would have had errors. Now, if you have importing errors, what you'll see is that Access will give you a table called either paste errors or import errors, depending on what you're doing. And this will allow you to see what exactly is wrong with your data that made it impossible to put into your database. We should be good though. Okay, already detected that the first row contains column headings, so click Next and Finish. You should have 1,452 records in your table. Okay, so open it up and check it out. Take a look at it. Now, if you go over to page 177, let's go to Design View of the ratings table, and let's take a look at couple of things we need to do. We're going to define a few things about the table before we go on. First, we've got an item code and we've got rated by. Okay. Item code, according to what it says on page 72, should be whatever it is in the products table. Now, we already took a look at the products table earlier because we noticed that we had truncated our data there, so we had to fix it. But it is short text and it should be 6 characters long. No more, no less. Rated by is going to be a foreign key to members in the members table. Now that related area should be 30. Should be 30 as far as the field size goes. And it too is a text field. Now you may find that you can't create a relationship later on when we get to that. You may not be able to create a relationship between rated by and members. And I'll ask you to think about that later when we get to it. Our rating comes in as double and number, and that's perfectly correct. Now what we need to do is create a composite key. Remember, we did that during employee training. What we want to do is create a composite key that together will create a unique entry for each record. That is, one member can rate only one item one time. So I can only rate my iPod once, but I can also rate my Toshiba laptop. I can also rate my USB CAD microphone. I can also rate anything else I want as many times as I want, many items as I want. I just can't rate one item twice. So to create a composite key, remember, you're going to hold down your left mouse button, drag to select them both, and then go up to the ribbon in the Tools group and click Primary Key. Go ahead and save. Now when you save this, you'll notice that we made some field sizes shorter. You will always get this message when you do this and save the table. Remember, Access wants to protect your data, so it's going to warn you. Now I do want to emphasize, this is really important. You will be doing this a lot at the beginning, and a lot of times what we want to emphasize that field sizes shouldn't just be a catch-all number. They should be tailored to fit the data. So, for example, you may see 255 for a zip code. That's completely inappropriate. And so we'll ask you to change it to a size that will fit a zip code exactly, including the characters, like hyphens. If you happen to be in a hurry or not paying attention and you're changing the wrong field, that means that you're going to truncate your data. So sometimes you may be in the telephone field and you change it to 10 characters, you're going to be cutting off part of your telephone number. So make darn sure that you're in the right spot. We were, so I feel confident in doing that. Go ahead and close your table. Okay, what's left? Well, let's talk more about relationships. What's left in this lesson is simply forming relationships. And what I didn't get a chance to show you, maybe I did, I can't remember, but we'll look at it. If we go to Database Tools and we go to Relationships, okay, you may see that there are lots of tables here. Some of them have keys, some of them don't. And our job here is to establish the relationships that we had. Okay? And you remember what referential integrity stands for. Referential integrity stands for Access ensuring that if you establish it and you want it to enforce it, it will make sure that you have a record in both tables. In other words, if you have something in a foreign key table, that you will have an identifying primary key record in the primary key table. So you can't have a customer in transactions without having a member listed already in members. That being said, let's go ahead and show the ratings table that we just created. And I'm going to try really hard here to create a relationship that enforces referential integrity and cascade updates between the two tables, ratings and members. Notice that member ID and rated by are not the same name, but it doesn't matter. As long as they're the same data type and size, you should be able to create the relationship. Now, notice what happens. It says I can't. And it says that there's something about ratings that violates referential integrity rules. In the case of transactions and members, that would be a serious problem with your database because you're dealing with transactions, money, sales records. In this case, it's not so horrible, and here's why. I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to open up ratings. Remember, we got ratings by our customers, by our members, but we also had some ratings that we got from actual ratings companies. So Consumer Guard Dog and Reliable Ratings, Inc. provided these ratings. They're not our members, they're not our customers, so I'm not too worried about this, but the fact that they are here makes it impossible for me to enforce referential integrity between this and members. It's just another example of how referential integrity works. So that's what I was talking about earlier when I said when you try to make these relationships, why can't you make the relationship between them? All right, what's left? Well, there is a graphic that was supposed to appear in your lab manual that apparently did not make it. I have taken it from my original files and put a document containing the graphic up under course materials in the K204 website. So please go get it. And that's going to give you an idea of what it should look like at the very end. Plus, you will need it to be able to quickly look at it and do queries and things like that in the future. So please go download it, print it, and put it in your binder with your lab manual. What you have to do here is simply find the key fields that are related and relate them. Remember, not all fields will have the same name. Here's a hint. You've got employee ID here. Where else are you going to find employee? And this is something you'll have to look for. But let's do one real quick. We've got transaction ID here. Where's the foreign key? It's over here in transaction details. We want to enforce referential integrity and cascade update. We do not want to cascade delete. And click create. And simply go ahead and continue to do this all the way through to all related fields. Right now we should be in really good shape, be able to create all of our relationships. And that will be, creating the remaining relationships, will be your homework for the review part of this class, along with whatever the pre-lab is for the next class, which is all about data types and basic field settings, which we'll be doing on Tuesday. Okay, that's it. I'll see you guys on Tuesday.